Welcome, guys, to the P&J Sports Show. In this episode, we're going to go through a couple topics. It will be a relatively short one. We're going to talk about the NHL, NBA, and then the NFL draft, me and Preston's team specifically. Later on, we'll go by the divisions, and we'll see how it goes. But starting it off, we have the first segment, the NHL playoff check-in.
All right. So just kind of giving a broad overview and also letting everyone know we are filming this on April 28th. I doubt it will be uploaded by tomorrow. So as games continue, obviously things will change with these series, but we're just going to kind of give a snapshot based of today. For instance, the Panthers and Lightning are playing as we're speaking right now. But overall, the Western Conference is where all the action's been, I'd say, so far. It's literally every series in the West is tied 2-2 in terms of the best of 7 series right now. So I think this is just clearly showing that the depth of teams in the West this year is proven to be much stronger than the depths of teams in the East. When you look to the Eastern Conference, especially wildcard matchups, teams like Montreal and Ottawa, the 2 wildcard teams, are both down 3-1 in their series. Montreal's put up a bit of a fight, to be fair to them, and they lost their starting goalie the last game, so they really were at a disadvantage there. Mm-hmm. But Ottawa has been pretty disappointing, to say the least. Not that, obviously, the Leafs are a very talented team, so I guess maybe it was to be expected. But I'd say Tuesday night, the Hurricanes can finish their series against New Jersey, and the Leafs can win their series also against Ottawa. So Tuesday night might be the time you finally see some of these series end. Toronto obviously has a history of not finishing series as early as they should, so it's be interesting to see if they can get that monkey off their back, or if they start to spiral at all if they're down 3-2. I mean, if they're up 3-2 after that. Carolina, New Jersey's been an interesting series. New Jersey obviously was undermanned with injuries and stuff, and not that Carolina's perfectly healthy, but Carolina has looked like the better team the whole series, so the results of that are not shocking at all. Sticking with the East, I'll just say Tampa and Florida is the best series of the East first round. I think that's become clear. Depending on how this game goes, Tampa is currently leading, so if it does end up that way, that'll be your 1-2-2 series in the East. That's the most even series in the Eastern Conference. It's just been the haves and the have-nots in the East, which it'll lead to a strong second round when all the teams that are supposed to go through is what it really looks like. But the West, like I said, different story. Every series is tied 2-2. That means even your wild card teams are performing better than I think maybe some people expected. For instance, the Winnipeg Jets, the team who is second best in the entire league in points behind only the Washington Capitals, has been really struggling as of late. The Blues managed to come back and tie this series 2-2, and it wasn't even – they did it very convincingly is how I would describe it. They won 7-1 yesterday against Winnipeg. So Winnipeg has some things they need to figure out. They had to pull their goalie twice each of the 2 losses, so now they have to decide if they start him.
That's the Jets?
Yeah, the Winnipeg Jets. So they have to decide if they start their goalie again. I mean, he's the best goalie in the NHL in the regular season, but his numbers drop off considerably to his last 3 playoff appearances. It's he's in his head, man, and a lot of it's not on him, to be fair. They lost 5-1. That's 7-1's crazy. They lost 5-1, which is still very bad for hockey, if we're being honest. But so not all the goals going in are on him. His defense has been failing him too, and there's been some, what you'd call lucky goals, but it's still very interesting. Their backup's more than capable, so I wonder if they play him at least for a game, maybe let Hellebuck try to clear his head, or if they just keep rolling with the goalie who got them there in the first place, but has not been the same guy in these playoffs. I mentioned in our last video, or maybe a video before that, the Blues were a dangerous team. Like, they were hot coming into the playoffs, and it appears that remains the case. The Kings and Oilers series has been super fun. Sunday night involved the Oilers coming back down 2-0, I believe, to win the game in overtime. They dominated that third period and that overtime. The Kings are playing very defensive and trying to hold on. I think it's a horrible strategy. I hate any time a team like bunkers. You see this in other sports, soccer, same thing, where it's like, oh, we're just going to not let them score. It's like, no, if you change how you play or you're not aggressive, you're inviting a loss or a tie, anything.
One mistake, and then oof.
Yeah, I hate it all the time. Capitals won with ease against the Canadiens Sunday. Like I said, that series is pretty much over. Same with the Hurricanes and Devils, if you ask me. The Wild and Vegas series has actually been super fun. I don't know if I expected it or how many people did, but Vegas is, I mean, the Wild have certainly made it more interesting. Vegas did win in overtime on Saturday to make it a 2-2 series finally. And their next game is immediately after the Panthers-Lightning game that is happening today, April 28th. So I won't be able to discuss it, but just know that series has been very fun to watch. I would recommend that one. Stars and Avalanche is an interesting back and forth. The Stars are an undermanned team, if we're like they just are, but they've been fighting very hard. Both of their wins in this series were in overtime. So they're the grittier, scrappier team, but you wonder if the Avalanche at all will begin to pull away from this series. They're the better team, like just objectively they are, but obviously that's not everything that matters in playoff series. Also, sorry, the Avalanche and Stars are the game on April 28th, not Vegas. They'll play a different day. But that Stars Avalanche series is fun too. Like I said, I'm rooting for the Stars personally just because the Avs have won a cup more recently than them. So it'll be interesting to see how they do undermanned. But overall, I'd say that of the leagues with 7-game playoff series, this one has been better. Is what I'll say. We'll discuss other stuff later.
I'd agree.
Some non-competitive series, and then the whole West is competitive. The games might not always be, like I said, the 5-1 out there, but the series as a whole are still even. So we should have a pretty exciting end stretch to these first-round games.
Yeah, I've mainly just watched Florida's games, and I started off pretty good, dominating Game 1 and Game 2. Although the Game 2 scoreline didn't look as bad, I from what I could see, they were definitely the better team. The return of Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah, Tkachuk. Yeah.
Tkachuk. Has definitely helped out a lot. He's performed really good. Sam Bennett, too, is another player I've noticed that has played really good. Last year, a player that played good, Carter Verhaeghe. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, he was really good last year in the playoffs, and this year he's been struggling. I don't know if struggling is the right word, but he hasn't been super active and good from the little bit that I've seen of him. Earlier, he did get a really nice hit on a player, and I was like, hell yeah. But this series has been very physical. Like, there's been a couple, like, almost fights, and there was two bad penalties I've seen, one in today's game. Yeah, he hit him pretty hard against the wall. I also did watch one of the Kings games, and it was really high scoring. I can't remember which one it was specifically in the series. And then one Wild game, and it was pretty entertaining. But overall, I have this playoff that I've not seen a bad hockey game.
There you go.
Unless you want to argue that a team just super dominating, like 5-1, isn't good. But
there's been a few blowouts, but like the series haven't gotten away from a lot of those teams yet. So like even when the Blues are winning that big, it's still a 2-2 series, for instance. And I'd be remiss to mention, you mentioned fights and whatnot. I think I will bring up real quick the Capitals Canadian series has been super scrappy as well, including a fight that started on the ice and continued into the benches last game. That was very interesting to watch. Tom Wilson he's one of those guys, if you're a Caps fan, you love him. If you're anyone else, the guy probably annoys you and he's a bit of a rat, but that's fine. And he's built for the playoffs. So he's been getting under a lot of people's skin. There's been a lot of fights. Very physical. Hockey, as a whole, if you're not watching it yet, you really should. The playoffs is where it's almost like a different game. Like you can do a lot more. Not that hockey isn't physical in the regular season. It is. But you can get away with a lot more in the playoffs.
They're a little more lenient.
These teams and these players know it. Like hits, it's probably not objectively true, but it feels like they almost triple come playoff time. So anyone not watching the playoffs yet, just keep your eye on ESPN, TNT, TBS, those channels, and watch them when you get a chance so you won't regret it.
All right. Moving on to the next segment. We got the NBA playoff check-in. Now, as he mentioned earlier, this is being recorded on April 28th, 2025. I don't know why I said the year. But so we don't. Some games might have already happened by the time it gets uploaded. I'll try my best to get it out quickly, but as of now, this is where it stands. both number one seeds have dominated and swept. The Heat looked legitimately absolutely pathetic. They didn't even. It felt like they weren't really trying, and they kind of gave up. There's a legit no fight in them. At least the Grizzlies kind of they were fighting, and they almost got a win, maybe two. Do I think Lou Dort injured John purpose? I'm gonna say no, but it did look bad. Like you slip, you see he's gonna dunk. Like just let it happen. There's no reason for you to lean in and like push his knee like that. Whatever. Moving on.
Let him play.
Justice for Jaw. Yeah, at least the Grizzlies gave the Thunder a little bit of a fight. Nuggets versus the Clippers looks like it's the best series in the whole first round, except Game 3. They've all been pretty close and entertaining. I still believe the Nuggets can upset the Clippers. I don't know. They're kind of evenly matched.
Yeah,
but the Clippers are favored by more people, at least on betting sites. Don't know about media. All the top seeds in the East are showing why they were the top four. All of them, as of now, are 3-1, except for the Cavs because they swept. And like it's like boring or whatever, but like, hey, at least you get the best teams playing against each other. Yeah. The Lakers have definitely disappointed, and it sucks. They've choked 3 times in all the games that they've lost, especially the most recent one. It should be 2-2, but it's 3-1. It is what it is. I think there's still a chance at a Game 7 win. Fuck. Hey, they tied it up now for real. Unless you take it away. Where was I? Oh,
you're talking about the Lakers sucking.
Anyway, I still have faith in them, although it is going to be tough. You're at least it's lucky that this next game is at home. So then you had like 2 days rest. Like you got to work at it. The Timberwolves are beatable. Like every game you have not been. Oh, the Lakers are getting lucky. It's just it's a 50-50 game that's gone in their favor twice. One game they legitimately were dominating, and we beat them pretty good in one. But the Warriors are looking to expose the youth of the Rocket and could catch the upset. Jimmy Butler coming back is definitely going to be big for them. And I just think the Rockets are definitely a good team, but that playoff basketball is just a little bit different. And you do need a little bit of veteran experience. It's an example in the Pacers, like TJ McConnell, every year for some reason in the playoffs. I mean, maybe not too much this year, but almost every year in the playoffs, he always like comes off the bench and is just, hey. It is always he just gets off like quick, easy buckets, and it just like because he just knows how to maneuver well in the playoff, and he knows how to like foul bait really effectively.
Yeah,
and it's something you really need off the bench. It's something I wish the Lakers had, and the Rockets. It looks like if their starting lineup doesn't do good, they're just. Oh, I thought it was like another goal.
For context, guys, the Panthers Lightning game is happening as we're filming this, and a pretty good goal just went in for the Panthers. They scored 2 goals pretty quickly to take the lead, so that's why there's been a slight distraction involved.
Yeah, no, you're good. One of the Panthers coaches, I don't know who it is. Their head is shining. That's like. Anyway, that's all that I have for NBA. Preston.
All right. So for me, I'll just say this: the lack of competitive series has stuck out for me. It's I think I've admitted this in previous episodes. I'm not as much of a watch everyone NBA fan as I am a Pacers fan. Like I'm more hyper-focused. Like NHL, I put on all the playoff games and I just watch them casually. Definitely. But NBA, I haven't as much. If I'm being honest, I've caught some, but it's just the way a lot of these series have gone, and even some of the games in these series, like some of the losses, man, I'm sorry, they're not excusable. Like you're a playoff team. Like how are you going to lose like that?
The biggest offenders to me are the Heat. Like
the Heat.
They're like, at least we get a playoff check.
Even Memphis has had some of the Memphis games they lost by like 40. So it's like.
I will say the first round of the playoffs is typically never the closest, except for one series is always like pushing Game 7 when
Yeah.
maybe
See, I'm
maybe
not
should have, maybe
sure.
it should. But
There's just something. There's like slight parity issues in the NBA. Like once we get past this first round, then I think you're right. Like
the games are
they'll
definitely
be
going to
close series
get
again.
more competitive.
But just right now in the current NBA, these like 6, 7, 8 seeds, maybe even some of the 5 seeds, just like aren't good enough to like. They're just not competing at the level you would hope for. I will say, like you said, Cleveland and Boston are just they've reinforced how good they are. Like, I mean, Celtics even got some stuff done without Tatum. Like, and even when Taylor and Brown aren't on their games, like they're just such a deep, well-coached team, you know. And same with Cleveland. I appreciate the one thing I do appreciate about this for the NBA is that these are both teams that are deep and well coached and they play well together. Instead of like, I think the era
they've drafted almost all their stars except
I think the era of
Donovan Mitchell. That's the only one that they didn't draft.
And he's like they each have like one guy who didn't come from it, but it's like the era of just having 2 or 3 superstars join up together in some random spot. That feels like it's over. Goal again, Florida, by the way. But yeah, like I just think this. I like this new approach, and I hope other teams start emphasizing this as well. I mean, it's the same thing in the West. Like when you look at the Thunder, they were built the right way.
Yeah, for the longest time, the people were making fun of the Thunder for like just trading for all these picks and then never like what are you going to use them for? And like they played the long game. It took like 3 years before they were even like decent.
Yep.
Like that trade for Shea, people used to be like, "Oh my God, why would they trade for Shea? Like he was a 6 man on the Clippers and he was going to get replaced." But look at him now; he's the MVP. Bet.
And talk about a bit more of these. Like you said, Clippers Nuggets is the best series by far. I don't think that's debatable.
I want the Nuggets to win.
I think I share a sentiment with a lot of people that it's nice to see playoff Kawhi again. I think it's good for the league.
Man,
it's just fun. I'm personally rooting for the Clippers because they've never won anything in their lives, and I'm not a Lakers. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for Kawhi to be playing well again.
The thing about Kawhi that frustrated me is that like people argue about load management, and it's like, yeah, but it works. But Kawhi's the one person that load managed, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
But now we're seeing him now. So.
Sometimes it's even tough to call Kawhi load management because that dude is made of broken glass. Like he's not a guy just resting because he's tired. Like this is a guy who gets hurt all the time. So like it made a little sense for me with him. Other series, the Lakers suck. They're garbage.
Okay.
LeBum James. No, but I did find it interesting. I don't know if you saw that stat that in the second half of their last game they lost, they played the same 5 guys the whole second half. To me, that speaks to the obvious issue of
they don't trust their bench.
Yeah, no, there's no.
I think you got to give them. You have to give them a chance because you have to give like Luka or LeBron like even just 3 minutes to relax.
I can't help but think about that trade for the Hornets center that fell through. Now every time I'm looking at this team,
yeah,
Jackson Hayes, from what I've heard, has been useless.
And then the all right. Like he's not been horrible, but he hasn't been good. Like
you don't even use Dalton Connect, so like really keeping him for what? I don't know.
Because the thing is, the rumor was that he failed the physical, and then the Hornets were like, no, he didn't. But then he didn't play for like 8 games, so it's like okay. So.
But even he would have been healthy by the playoffs. I would have tried to go through with it.
I don't know why Rob Pelinka did it. Maybe he's wanted to keep his assets for a summer move.
But it's not like
I don't know.
Value went up. It's weird. But yeah, I guess the T-Wolves. You're right that like they haven't been dominating the series or anything in Minnesota, but they do play well. Anthony Edwards is obviously a continuing rising player in this league. Naz Reid is Naz Reid. People hate on the big Frenchie, but he does his job. You know, that's never going to change. Yeah. Plays good defense.
3-1 official. 3-1 official.
So no 2-2 series in the East for the NHL. But so yeah, I don't know. The whole NBA playoffs, like you said, it's been not a lot of close stuff. So I guess it's more of a let's just look forward to round 2. But to be honest, the way some of your top seeds have looked, I don't know if anyone's going to stop them. Like this might just be another inevitable crash course between the Thunder versus whoever wins the grueling battle between Boston and Cleveland. Like I could be wrong, but that's what it feels like right now.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. I'm looking at the bracket right now.
Yep.
Right now it would be if the teams leading were to advance, it would be Cavs versus Pacers and Knicks versus Celtics. Knicks Celtics should be a good one.
Real quick,
Pacers Cavs should be interesting. Yep.
Can we talk about how the Knicks are? I don't think they're playing that well, and not to mention the absolute screw job by the Pistons got freaking robbed, and the refs admitted it like 5 minutes after the game. It's like, how's that supposed to make a Pistons fan feel better, bro? How about have a rule where you can change awful calls that literally determine a playoff game? Like, come on, man. That was crazy. I don't think the Knicks have been playing.
The Knicks are getting lucky.
This is an inexperienced Pistons team like the Rockets.
I'll say this: next year, the Pistons, they're gonna be fucking elite. They might swap with the Knicks in terms of ranking, I guess.
To me, they're the Rockets of the East, just even slightly further behind where Houston is in terms of the rebuild development. But same with Houston. I wanted to mention that series too. Is just to me the Warriors. I know they're technically the underdogs, but the way the games went when the Warriors had Jimmy Butler, to me,
it's not even close.
Yeah, to me, if he's healthy, they're not the underdogs. They should be the favorites.
And then, like, Draymond isn't doing much, like, stat-wise, but he's getting in their heads so easily that they want to start fights. And it's like, dude, like, Jalen Green, if you get in a fight, the Warriors don't give a fuck if Draymond doesn't play for a game. The Rockets need you to play.
Yep. I just don't think the Rockets are ready yet. We talked about that in earlier videos, too. Also, we should mention that you were horrifically wrong about Memphis beating OKC. I think that's important.
Well, I wasn't too off that they would give him a chance, but yeah, I was just hating. I admitted it too. But as moving on to the West, it would be Thunder, Nuggets if they pull through. If not, then it would be the Warriors if they win, and then it would be Nuggets or Clippers versus Lakers or Timberwolves.
Yeah, I think the Nuggets or Clippers could give a fight to whoever they end up playing in the second round.
I think it doesn't matter which one of them play. I think they play Lakers or Timberwolves. Whoever wins that.
Well, we know
it all depends on if Houston really.
Yeah, but to me, like Houston's done. Like if the Warriors are healthy, Houston's done.
Yeah,
they're just not ready yet. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Like Houston fans don't have to be mad. Be happy about the progress you made this season. The seeding you got is crazy. Like you did really well in the regular season, man. None of your guys have playoff experience really, so like this was expected. Same with Detroit on a slightly lesser scale. They didn't finish as high, but none of those dudes have done this before, and they're fighting really hard.
Houston, one of you trade for Giannis.
Yeah.
Moving on to our last segment of the video, the NFL draft for the Vikings and the Steelers. Preston, the Steelers had the 21st pick, and you guys did not trade up or down. What was your pick and thoughts on it?
All right, so we went with defensive tackle / defensive lineman Derek Harmon out of Oregon. He is 6'5", 310 pounds. A beast of a man, very good defensive lineman. Obviously, night of, there was some a lot of conflicting thoughts in this fan base. I think there's a lot of people who were hook, line, and sinker on that Shedeur Sanders hype, which ultimately the way this draft played out, I think most people, even the diehards, had to admit, like, okay, maybe taking a guy who went in the 5th round and the 1st round would have been a bit much. And we had plenty. We could have drafted him 4 other times. So clearly the Steelers just weren't interested ultimately. So when I factor that in and the fact that this was a weaker QB class, I think getting a guy as talented as Harmon is at 21 to be the first play with Cam Hayward and Keanu Benton and just be a super dominant front 3 interior defensive line group, and then to ultimately factor into the sort of replacement of Cam Hayward as eventually the man will age. Like he's old now, but he's been playing really like he's a better player in his 30s than he ever was in his 20s. It's really interesting about him that way, but eventually the wheels will fall off. This is how this game works. And so you want a guy to be ready to take that step. And a guy like Harmon is built for that. He's huge. 310, he's a big boy at 310, but his pass rush is actually the best part of his game. So you factor in, he had 55 pressures last year as an interior defensive lineman. That was first place by far in college football. The only guy, the second place was like 12 less than him. So like he gets pressures, man. Like that was his main, he was a pressure machine for Oregon. The only thing is watching tape, sometimes he would get the pressure, but then he would not wrap up the quarterback. He'd whiff too many times for my liking. Hopefully that's something you can work with him on. But it's a position that made sense. And once you really evaluated this quarterback class, I think it was the smart move by them. I don't regret passing on anyone at that point, to be honest. So I was very happy with that pick. I'd go A-.
Okay. Quick side note: the Stars scored within 20 seconds.
Very quickly.
We also did not trade back or up. There was rumors that the Giants were low-key begging to trade up because they wanted Dart and they were afraid that they might get leapfrogged. But I guess we didn't like the value of it and decided to stick, and I'm kind of happy we did.
Yeah, so the Giants
we stuck at 24 and picked. We went with Donovan Jackson, lineman out of Ohio State. This past year, filled in for Josh Simmons, who got injured at left tackle, but for the other 3 years, he played left guard, which is where he'll play for us, as we have starting left tackle, right tackle, center, and right guard. We got Will Fries at right guard. Oh my God, why can't I remember the Colts guy at center?
Oh crap!
Ryan O'Neal. Ryan Kelly is center. Brian O'Neal is a right tackle. Christian Darrisaw is a left tackle, and we were like, our weak link was going to be the left guard with Blake Brandel, but now it looks like it is Donovan Jackson's job. Really did super good as a left guard in his time as at Ohio State. From the little bit of tape I saw at left tackle, he was pretty good filling in. Did get absolutely destroyed by Abdul Carter, but again, not his position. And at left guard, he's not going to run into Abdul Carter, at least not on a solo, too many times.
Yeah.
Now the league is filled with people around that elite level in the NFL, but I think he'll be good. Maybe he'll start at left tackle a little bit until Darrisaw comes back. He might have to do it for a couple games, or we might get Walter Rouse, which is our backup swing tackle, to fill in there. We don't know yet. We'll have to see training camp. I was a little disappointed because there was other players that I liked and wanted, specifically Will Johnson. I really liked him a lot. He was my favorite center back, or not cornerback. Sorry, FIFA brain. He was my favorite corner in the class, and I thought he was really good. The tape was really good. Now I know the injury concerns, but the Vikings are definitely a team that is not scared off by injuries. They are very confident in their doctors and the medical staff, and I get it. But
I guess it should. Real quick, just interject. I should mention that Harmon apparently had some reported injury concerns, but there hasn't been a lot of talk on it, so I'm not quite sure what it was. And also, the Steelers were very confident he will be fine long term. Also,
no one's scared off of it.
Yeah, for your pick, I'd say this. So, like, it's probably slightly a reach, just objectively, given that the position he is. Mm-hmm. But it was your primary position of need. And I think sometimes in the late first round, plus when we'll get into this, obviously you didn't have a second round pick. So to me, it did make some sense. Like if you need a starting guard from this draft, you can't really wait until the third round. So it made sense to get the best guard.
Like I said, I was a little sad at first, but thinking on it now, and after watching a little bit of tape, I'm happy with it. I'd give it an A-.
Nice.
Yeah, moving on to the second round. We did not have a second round pick because we used it as part of the Dallas Turner trade.
Yeah.
Preston, you didn't have a second round pick, but you traded it.
For a guy this year, which is why I want to talk about it just briefly, I think this was ultimately the right move, especially looking at, like, it's a good receiver class, but kind of looking at who was available in that second round era, we would have picked at like 52. None of them are DK Metcalf. So to me, this one made the most sense, obviously. DK is a very, very good player. He matches the physicality this team was looking for. Tomlin talked about it multiple times post-draft, was that they were looking to get more physical with this team. And after we go through all the picks, I think you'll see that pattern is very clear, that physicality and toughness was one of the primary things we were looking for. So I just want to say, no second-round pick. It's kind of like we didn't have a first-round pick in 2020, but it's because we got Minkah Fitzpatrick, and I don't think any Steelers fans regretted that, and I have a feeling no Steelers fans will regret giving up a second to get a guy like DK Metcalf either. So now we're ready for the third round. Do you want me to keep going with mine, or you want to go to yours?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so our third round pick 83, was running back Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, 6', 6'1", 225 pounds. I love this pick. If I'm being honest, like I talked about it with other people before. This is a running back I would have been okay with using our second round pick on if we had it. So the fact he was available all the way at 83, the fact that 5 other running backs went before him was crazy to me. I'd argue, to me, he was probably the third best back in the class. But you could get away with fourth, but sixth or whatever we got him, to me, was crazy good value. Not to mention, scheme-wise, he really fits our offense. So the way people talked about him is he doesn't have that initial burst. Like, it takes him a few steps to get going. But once he has speed, he's fast.
When he finds the gap.
He dominated Big Ten defenses. Like, he ran all over them. He was Iowa's whole offense. Like, this is not a fluke. Not to mention, Iowa plays a pro-style offense, so you got to see him actually run NFL style runs. NFL called runs means it's even easier for you to scout a guy like him because you're not having to project how he'll fit into an NFL mold because he runs an NFL mold. So I just want the physicality too. I think he fits our running back room perfectly because right now our running backs are Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell, and those are both smaller change of pace backs to me, is what you'd call them, like fast. Quick cuts, smaller, just obviously like 5'9" and like 5'8" or something, you know.
I think you got a younger, potentially better Najee. So
to me, he's already.
A good pick.
I think he already sees the field better than Najee. I don't want to disrespect Najee because he was good, but I think Najee's best trait was just being healthy. Like, I think his numbers weren't that impressive, especially his yards per carry. Caleb Johnson's yards per carry were crazy in college. We'll see how it translates to the pros. But the scheme fits there. He fits the running back room perfectly, being the bigger, more run-you-over running back compared to our smaller, shiftier guys. So I think it's a really nice dynamic in that running back room. I still love Jalen Warren, and I hope he gets even more carries than he did the last few years. But I think it'll be a really nice 1-2 punch, and I think Johnson will develop very well. I've said this for years, that running back running back is one of the positions where you can get starting quality, very good running backs in the third round. And to me, this is likely one of those cases. I gave this pick an A.
Yeah, I like running backs later outside the first round, unless it's someone that you know is going to change your offense, like a Gibbs or a Saquon.
But also, I think you have to be good enough around. So, like, Saquon's so great on the Eagles because the Eagles were good, really good everywhere else.
Yeah, it's definitely a position. It's
you have to have an O-line.
Yeah, you need an O-line, and you need a coach that knows how to call the run game. It's a position that there's a term I'm looking for that I can't remember, but
to me they depend on other players. Like it's not a standalone.
Your team has to already be good or good on offense, except for that.
Yeah.
I'd rather have like 2 good receivers than like 1 good running back, personally.
Yeah. So your third round pick?
Yeah. The Vikings originally had pick 97, which was our comp pick for Kirk Cousins signing with Atlanta, but we traded it along with number 187 to Houston for 102 and 142. So we only dropped back 5, but we jumped like over 40. So I think it was a very solid deal. I liked it. And then I guess we got a couple offers for 102 to drop a little bit, but Kwesi did not like him enough. And we stuck at 102 and picked wide receiver out of Maryland, Ty Felton. Now, the last time Minnesota drafted a receiver from Maryland, ended up pretty good, but I know, like, Ty Felton is not fucking Stephon Diggs. I don't really love this pick. I don't like it too much either, because this is like a special teams kick returner at the third round, which is not great value. Now Jordan Addison might be suspended for the DUI. We don't know yet, and if he is, I guess this is a little better.
This is also your potential future Jalen Naylor replacement.
Yeah, but Jalen Naylor to me is coming into his groove, playing pretty good, and I just like Naylor. Like, we're eventually going to have to pay him, and this would be a cheap replacement, but I would rather pay Naylor wide receiver 2.5 money. Like maybe not wide receiver 2 money, but he definitely deserves a little more than wide receiver 3 than Ty Felton. I don't like. He's pretty short too. We'll see, I guess.
Yeah.
He could be a really good wide receiver 4, maybe 3. But I think this is a special teams pick. Don't love it. I'd give this one like a, if I'm being nice, a B-, but I think this is like a C.
Yeah. So
I know we were good at running back, but I would have maybe liked to see, or actually, well, maybe I would have liked like a D lineman or something here. I'm jealous of the Patriots getting Trayvon Henderson that late. He was my favorite running back. I'd say him and Genty were like 1-1, 1A, 1B, and then I put Hampton and Caleb Johnson right below them.
So just I want to add some to your pick, just because I follow the draft a lot, so like I love talking about every team's picks, which is what we'll do in later episodes. But just with Felton, I would say the only issues I can have with it is the position taken. Like you mentioned, you have 3 very good receivers already. So like this is obviously, like I said, it's probably more thinking about Naylor replacing Naylor. But like this year alone, when you're trying to compete, you just spent your 3rd round pick on a wide receiver 4, which is always a little tough. I feel like, especially when there's other positions out there, D line, corner, safety, like a bunch of different spots you probably could have went instead. But I do the jury's out, and I'm not a professional scout, but I just know that Ty Felton was very, very good for Maryland this past season. He was their best player by far, put up like 1,200 receiving yards, crazy good production in the Big Ten. I think he can pan out. Like, I think he will be a wide receiver 3 or 4 in the league for multiple years. We don't know if it will be Minnesota. Ultimately, it depends if they stick with Naylor, what they really do. But I do think he'll end up being slightly more than a special teamer. I just want to give him a little credit. I just think the position picked and when he was picked is more of the issue.
It's just like for now, that's what he's going to be, and that's why I don't like it now. But like next year, like him and Naylor could be like wide receiver, like they could both be wide receiver 3, and it could make the receiving even more.
Yeah,
like because then you'd have to cover Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, and a Felton / Naylor. Plus, like, what if Aaron Jones still keeps that form? Or Jordan Mason, it makes like I said, I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I'd give it like a C+. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Vikings did not have a 4th round pick.
So I'll go to that. Yeah. Okay. My last thought on your pick was also just with the limited amount of picks you have, I probably wouldn't have gone receiver. But anyway, back to our pick. This was similar and different to yours. So similar in that it was a position I wasn't like pounding the table for, saying that we needed, so I was a little shocked by it. But different in that it was actually very good value based on how scouts had ranked this player. So with our 4th pick, 123 overall, we went with national champion edge rusher Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State, 6'4", 260. Had 9.5 sacks this past season, probably his most productive sack season. To me, that was my biggest issue with him for a while, is the pass rush production wasn't always there. But he fits the mold of a Steeler, man. Just like he's the leader. He's the de facto leader of that national championship Ohio State team. He was the heart of that team, died for Ohio State. Like, he came back that extra year because of how much he loved his teammates in this program. I think he's very good. I think the value was indeed there. He was probably more of a second. In other drafts, like this was a stacked edge class, which is probably why we're even able to get him in the 4th. But he probably could have been a late second, the 3rd round.
D-lineman was deep.
Yeah,
this year.
And we got him in the middle to late 4th, so I think the value was incredible. It's just there's a lot of other positions I feel like we could have gone when you consider the fact that our edge rushers currently are TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Nick Herbig. Like, you have 3 very good edge rushers that a lot of teams would be dying to have. And so now you add a 4th, which is, I mean, sometimes you can argue that stacking the deck even further is a good move. My only question is I probably would have considered other positions out there, specifically corner, because Darius Slay is a Band-Aid, man. He just is. He's old. Like he's talking, it's probably his last season. So it's like, if you could have found a decent corner there, I would have tried it. Even if it was a nickel who you knew would start
Like-
for you, that would have been fine with me too. Because we're
How
still,
much are you guys paying Darius Slay?
I don't know, like 10 maybe,
Like,
but it's
I
a
want
one-year
to
deal.
say this without sounding disrespectful, but like, why sign with the Steelers? Like, if you just want a paycheck, I guess that makes sense. But like,
Yeah, I'm not
if you're
sure.
ring
To be honest, I'm not
chasing-
sure how big the market was for him, but there's also the
Mhm.
fact that we're still relatively known for defense, and players do like Mike Tomlin. But other than
Mhm.
that, But yeah, either
Like-
way, it's a Band-Aid. So I would have considered corner here, but just because of the immense value, not to mention last season we traded for Preston Smith in the middle of the season, looking for a guy like this. Like we wanted a fourth edge rusher, a guy who could give T.J. Watt and Highsmith more snaps off, so they can actually pass rush effectively later. Plus, Sawyer is probably one of the better run defending edges we have right away, like day one. Like to me, he's very disciplined with gaps. He's good at stopping the run, probably even more than he is at rushing the passer. So I feel like this makes a lot of sense for a guy who can play those first and second downs when T.J. Watt and Highsmith need a breather. And I think it just makes our pass rush even deadlier, especially when you bring in the fact that we already drafted Derek Harmon with our first round pick. So I think you're adding the strengths, and I think it is accomplishing the mission of being physical and stopping the run. So I would go B. CBS gave it an A, probably because of value, but I just feel like I would have won another position. So I'll go like B plus, just because I'm harsh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I think it's just a little odd to add another edge to the room. It's like it's similar to like, why do we need a fourth receiver?
Yep.
With the Vikings. Like, maybe it's for the future. I don't know. The Vikings, no fourth round pick either. I don't know if I already said that. But moving into the fifth round, at this point we had pick 139 and 142, and we stuck at 139 and picked defensive lineman from Georgia, Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. I like him. I don't. From what I read and listened to on some shows, he kind of fell because of some injury and maybe character issues. Like, I guess he likes to, he gets a little over aggressive sometimes. I guess he threw a couple punches during practices.
Jeez.
But not directly at players. Just I don't know. I guess he wasn't actively targeting someone. He just gets super in the moment. But I don't know. I mean, I don't hate it. And once you join the NFL, you got to lock in a little bit. So I don't think it's bad. I do like the pick because at this position we do have two really old starters, and they could learn.
By the way?
Yes.
Okay, because that's the only thing I was going to bring up is why he's fell is because a lot of these services are calling him a tweener, as in he weighs 276 instead of 310 or something. So they're kind of he could be a D end or a D tackle kind of a deal. He's caught in between at the moment.
Yeah. From what I read, the plan is to make him bulk up and sit behind Hargrave and
I don't know who else you got.
the guy from the Commanders that we got. I can't remember his name.
Did you get Deron Payne or something crazy? Who am I thinking?
No. Or he might have been from the Commanders. I might be tripping. Jonathan Allen. Yeah, it was from the
Allen,
Commanders.
yeah, okay. Forgot about that too. Jeez.
Sorry, yeah, Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave. So we have two really good D tackles. Plus, oh my God, I can't. He's
Renard on the edge.
No. He's a white. Oh my God, I see his face, man. Oh my God, something Phillips.
You should pause if you're
Harrison Phillips.
Okay.
Yeah, Harrison Phillips. He's the D tackle we've had for now. He's good, but Harrison has been the guy that's I'll take the guard and center away so the edges could cut in. He's been the dirty work guy, and I think he could learn from that or Hargrave or Allen and develop. This is definitely a pick to see if he could turn into a starter a year or two down the line. I like it. I think the value is pretty good. and they decide to slim him down into a DN/edge rusher, we have two good ones too they can learn from. Plus, Dallas Turner is there to help him. Dallas Turner seemed really, really happy that he fell to them on his Instagram story. So I'll give it, because of that, I'll give it an A-. Although I think on CBS they gave it like an A+.
C.
I don't know about that. Whatever.
5th.
Yes, but then we traded the 142 to the Seahawks for quarterback Sam Howell and 172. So we got our backup quarterback, or at least someone that'll fight for it, for that position, with Brett Rippon, I think.
Nice.
Like I said, not like quarterback is still like a question mark if McCarthy can stay healthy, and I think he can. Yeah. And if he does go down, our backup is not the best, but if we can help Sam Darnold achieve his peak, maybe Sam Howell could be not horrible. Yeah. I'll say it like that.
At least he has starting experience.
So, well, it's not someone we drafted. We did. It was a player we added on.
Yeah.
Do you have any more 5th-round players?
Yeah, so we had one 5th-round pick, 164 overall, and that went to this behemoth defensive tackle, really a nose tackle from Iowa named Yaya Black. He is 6'6", 336 pounds. So, like, this was for one purpose only, and it's I talked about it already. Tomlin said the strategy was stop the run, be more physical. This is pretty much the spirit of that idea, is drafting a 6'7", 340-pound dude to just kind of plug the middle. We didn't have a guy of his size on our roster to be he's a true nose tackle, is kind of how I'd say it. Like in the NFL anyways, he projects more like that, where I don't think he's really going to be a factor in pass rush at all. He's just too big, too slow, and he just really doesn't have a lot of great pass rush moves. But just from the point of being a plug, literally like a plug, like a stuff the run, close those gaps. This Steelers team got gashed too many times last year, notably the playoff game where Derrick Henry had like 200-something rushing yards, just did whatever he wanted. Damn. So I think this was very clear what the plan was. And not to mention, just in general, once you're 5th rounder later, I'm not going to be as harsh. I'm looking for traits or positions in need. Like one or the other, both is even
hopefulness and or special teams.
And I feel like we needed a nose, and so I'm perfectly fine with this pick. He might not ever pan out something crazy, but even if he can just help with the run game slightly, I am very on board with this. I'd give it an A. And did you have a 6th?
We did. We had 2. We had, I think, 172. I can't remember if that was a late 5 or an early 6. Okay. I'm gonna go with early 6.
We got to go fast.
We ended up trading 172 to the Rams for 201 and 202. So we went 1 early 6 to 2 late 6. And I'll just do both at the same time because I have very different feelings about both of them. With pick number 201, we got linebacker Kobe King from Penn State.
Yep. Sick name.
For right now, I think he's probably just going to be like a Brian Asamoah replacement on special teams, and then hopefully he can break in to be like an actual inside linebacker. At Penn State, he was really good inside the box, covering it, and that's kind of what the Vikings struggled a little bit with last year. So if Ivan Pace were to get hurt, or maybe just to give him a breather, I think Kobe King would be a good plug in there. I like the pick a lot because Brian Asamoah is, I guess, due for a contract, and I really am not super excited to sign him. He kind of disappointed me. I was super excited for him in the 22 draft. It is what it is. We replaced him with someone younger. I think Kobe King is actually a little faster and weighs a little more. So, W. And then with the pick immediately after 202, I don't like this one. Personally, not a fan. We got tight end Gavin Bartholomew. Great name, I guess. From Pitt. I was talking to Preston about this earlier. I don't like him because he is I can't block at all tight end. not strong enough for it. He's a receiving tight end, but he's slow. I think if I remember correctly from what I read, he ran a 4.89, which is not very fast. And he's a tight end, so it's not like he's gonna run really good routes. I'm not a fan. I'll just straight up. I'll give Kobe King like a B plus, and I'll give Gavin Bartholomew like a D plus.
All right.
And that wraps up the Vikings draft.
Okay, so I'll wrap up ours. Our final 3 picks are. Sorry, I'm trying to find the 40-yard dash on one of these kids because I thought that was an important aspect of why we drafted him.
You're good, bro.
Okay, there we go. So we went in the 6th round. This is the most notable pick of the ones we have left. That was Will Howard, the quarterback out of Ohio State. I think the value here is really good, if you ask me, because this was a weak quarterback class. We knew that, and clearly every team thought that. But to get Howard at 185th overall in the 6th round, to me, he was, in my opinion, he was the 3rd best quarterback, at least from day one. Like, you could argue that a guy like Milroe could become better, but not yet. So I think it's immense value. I think he can compete. He'll likely win the QB3 spot right away, but he could eventually become our primary.
What is your QB room?
Right
Rudolph?
now, well,
that's the only one I know of.
Yeah, we project Aaron Rodgers, QB1. The way they've talked it seems very likely at this point, and then Rudolph 2. And right now, Howard has to beat out Skylar Thompson, the kid who played a few games for Miami. So
shouldn't be hard, man. I could probably be Skylar Thompson. No.
If you ask me, Will Howard becomes our QB3 right away. At the very least, he could be our long-term backup, which is always nice to have. But who knows? Maybe he could at least have a shot at a starting job in 2 years once a guy like Rodgers retires. Not that I'm going to expect that from him. He's a 6th-round pick. Like I need to be realistic about those. So I will give it an A.
Because I think future backup is what you want.
The value's there, and even if he is a future backup, getting him in the 6th round is pretty good. And then our 2 7th-round picks, these are kind of just throwaways. Carson Bruner, a linebacker from Washington, very good at special teams, I believe, even maybe the captain. His dad played tight end for the Steelers in the 80s and is actually a scout on the team. So that's a fun connection. Damn. And then Dante Kent, a corner from Central Michigan, ran a 4.38. What?
His dad was a tight end in the 80s?
Yeah.
Damn, he had his kid late then.
Yeah. And then maybe 90s too. But Dante Kent is a corner from Central Michigan, played outside and inside, but more notably the returns punts and ran a 4.38 40-yard dash at his pro day. So this is purely a pick based on athleticism, and you just throw him in the mix at nickel and try him out. We also, I want to mention one UDFA was Sebastian Castro from Iowa. Iowa DBs are good, man. They're no joke. They get underrated. I think Sebastian Castro could come in and compete for the starting nickel job for the Steelers right away. So keep an eye out for that. And that's our draft recap.
Yep. We still have 5 minutes, so.
Oh, I was rushing.
I know you were. I was like, I don't want to interrupt him. I'll let him go.
Well, I can. So that's the only thing I'd say with Kent, then, just to be fair, is I would have preferred Jordan Clark, the starting nickel for the Steelers. Not for the Steelers, I wish. For Notre Dame, I'm biased, though, because, first of all, his dad is Ryan Clark, who won Super Bowls with the Steelers, so the connection's there. And then
where did he end up getting drafted to?
He ended up signing with the Jets as a UDFA, which is wild. Maybe he just pissed at us that they want to sign, or maybe we didn't even try to sign him, which is wild to me too. But I think he was one of the better nickels still left. But Kent makes sense in terms of the punt return ability. It's always good to draft, like you said, special teams in those last rounds. So the fact he was a special teams captain, I believe, and also returned punts and can play outside and inside. The Steelers go for versatile players a lot in the super late picks just to try them out, So
yeah, we talked about it before. Like, special teams is really underrated. Like, you could have the best offense and the best defense and miss the playoffs. Because you have the worst special teams.
I think Bruner and Kent were mainly special teams picks.
Okay. All right. That wraps it up for this video. Little longer than we thought, but it is what it is. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Jesus, a.k.a. Big Slime, Preston, a.k.a. KMA Sports, and that's it. Goodbye.
See you guys.